Hey everybody, my name is Diane Gale and I am the author of the blog sustainableslowliving.com, and today you and I are going to make a Persian love cake together. This cake is delicious. It is perfect for Valentine's Day. It's baked with rose water, and I love to bake with rose water, but that really makes it special for this holiday. I've made it before. I've only ever made it in like an 8-inch cake tin. I've altered the recipe in hopes of it fitting in this 4-inch crock so that it's more like a 2-serving cake, which is perfect for Valentine's Day. This cake is decorated with rose petals and crushed pistachios on top of a white glaze, and it is a real showstopper. So if you want to make it for someone special, the love of your life, or just for anyone special this Valentine's Day, it's really going to impress. Maybe you just want to have a Valentine's tea with friends, right? It's a gorgeous cake. So I have the oven preheating at 350. And we're going to try something, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to make another cake. So normally when I make this cake, because it's made with a lot of almond flour, I put it in a parchment lined pan, because almond flour tends to really stick to a pan. And I am going to try to just really grease this crock really well, and bake it in there and see how it goes. And if it doesn't come out, then I will do another one with parchment paper. But I'm hoping that what I can get by doing that is that my edges will be a little bit more defined and not have like creases in them from the parchment paper, and it'll give the cake even more eye appeal. We're gonna see what happens. If it doesn't work out, then I guess I'm going to have to go ahead and make another little cake. But anyway, we're going to start by mixing the dry ingredients for the batter. So for that, we have a 1/3 cup of white all-purpose flour. I always like to use organic, especially when I'm using white flour. We have 2/3 cup of almond flour. There is a difference between almond meal and almond flour, and you want almond flour, and preferably you want a super fine blend. That is what I have here. And then we have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to get all of that in here. Doesn't want to come out. There we go. And then I'm just going to take a whisk, and I'm going to whisk all of this together well. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mix the wet ingredients for the batter. So I'm going to take this bowl, and I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter in the bowl. It's important that your butter is room temperature because you're going to want to cream it. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to put a 1/3 cup of sugar in the bowl. And I'm going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon zest. I use fresh lemon zest, and an 1/8 teaspoon of cardamom. Cardamom and rose water are both very Persian flavors. When baking, they're used a lot, and they are 2 of my favorite flavors, so that makes this cake pretty perfect for me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blend this on high speed for about 2 minutes, just to kind of break that butter up. You want to have a deep bowl for this because it is going to spit the sugar and the butter around on you, so you want to try to prevent that from happening. Remember that your lemon zest and your cardamom are also in here, so you don't want it spitting that out with the sugar and the butter. So I've got that butter and that sugar blended. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in 1 egg. And then I will also blend that on high speed. You definitely want to blend after the egg. Don't skip these steps where we're adding something and then blending it. Go ahead and add it and blend in between. The final thing that we're going to add into this is buttermilk and rose water. So I have a 1/4 cup of buttermilk here, and I have some rose water here. And I'm going to take 1/2 teaspoon of that rose water, and I'm going to mix it in with the buttermilk. Now rose water, when you buy it, is going to come in all different colors. It comes in clear, it comes in pink, it comes in red, and it's just about the roses that it was made with. My rose water is kind of a pinkish color, a light pink color. I made my own rose water out of dried rose petals, and there's information all over the internet for you to be able to do that yourself. Honestly, it works, and I like it a lot because I can do it in a pinch if I haven't planned ahead. But I like to purchase rose water. It's a little bit expensive, but it's something that I like to have in my kitchen, and it lasts a very long time. So if you have time to purchase some and you're inclined to do that, go ahead and do that. I'm going to take this and I'm going to pour it into the egg mixture here, and then I'm just going to blend that together as well. Normally what I would do at this time is I would pour the wet mixture over the dry mixture, but I'm having a little trouble with having enough bowls to work with today. So the bowl that I have my wet mixture in is a little bit bigger. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave it in there, and I'm going to pour the dry mixture in, and then I'm just going to mix that all together by hand. This makes a really lovely cake batter. The consistency is pretty thick, which is often very nice for a cake batter, and I'm really happy with it. You will see that it has some lumps, and that's okay. Don't work too hard at getting those out of there. When you mix it by hand, you just want to mix it lightly. Now, the one thing that I did forget to tell you is that your egg also needs to be at room temperature. I know I mentioned that about the butter, but it is also very important about the egg. So leave your butter and your egg out in the morning so that they're at room temperature when you use them. So I've got this mixture here, and like I said, I'm going to experiment with just greasing this really well and putting it in here. And I'm going to also see, I might have a little bit too much batter here. I do have a deep crock, so that's going to help. But I was trying to just kind of redo a recipe to get it to fit in this crock. And the question is, was I or was I not successful? But I am going to go ahead and make sure this is well greased all the way around. I'm going to get some batter in there, and I'm going to get it in the oven. And then I will be back with you once it comes out of the oven and it cools so that we can decorate it. Alright you guys, so we are not cooled down. This is what we have here. Now this is a 4-inch deep dish crock. And as you can see, we've really domed over the top. This would have worked out if it was done in 2 4-inch crocks and made 2 individual Valentine's desserts instead of 1 to share. And it was an experiment. And what I did is I took a calculator to estimate how to change your recipe for a different size pan when making like a batter. And obviously that didn't really work out. But when I do the recipe on the blog, I will call for 2 4-inch pans. They'll be regular pans, and that's exactly what this would have made. I know it's hard for you to tell, but as deep as that crock is, this would have made 2 perfect 4-inch cakes. So as soon as it's cool, because it just came out of the oven, I'm going to cut the top of that off and then see how it comes out of that pan so we can go from there. So here it is. It is out of the oven. It is cooled, and it is out of the crock that I baked it in, and it came out right out. I'm very happy with it. And I showed you the picture, you know, how the top had puffed up. I was able to just cut that off right across the top of the crock. It was actually crispy, yummy deliciousness. So I might be inclined to bake another one myself right in that crock and just do it that way. Anyway, there's some options for you on what kind of pan you're going to bake it in. I did already change the blog post to say 2 4-inch pans or a 6-inch pan, because technically that's the way that it's going to work for everyone. But if you're lucky enough to be here on the YouTube video, you can see how well this has worked for me. I am very, very happy with this. So how about if you and I make some icing to put on top of this sweet little cake? So the icing is super easy to make. I have a 1/4 cup of confectionery sugar here, and I'm going to add to it a 1/4 teaspoon of rose water and 2 1/4 teaspoons of lemon juice. That's all there is to it. You're just going to stir it up, and you want it to be a pourable consistency but not runny. You can adjust the consistency by adding water to it. So what you really want is you want to be able to take this and you want to be able to put it on the center of that cake and push it out toward the edges and let it just run down the sides just a little bit. This, because my rose water is pink, is taking on a gorgeous pink color. Okay, you guys, so this is the icing. I have never worked with colored rose water before, so this icing came out pink. It's gorgeous. I did want to tell you that when I put the when I went to mix it, the confectionery sugar had there were little white lumps in there, and I was like, oh no, this is going to look terrible when I glaze the cake. But I just let it sit for a little while, and they dissolved into the icing. So it's gorgeous. It really is gorgeous. And it's going to be great. Another thing that you could do is you could sift your confectionery sugar before you mix your lemon juice and your rose water in with it. But quite honestly, leaving this sit for just a few minutes worked just fine. I probably wouldn't pull out the sifter. So let's go ahead and let's put this on top of this cake. So I'm just going to pour that onto the center of the cake and spread it around. And you just want to kind of take your time and let it just drip over the edges. You don't want to force it too much, right? Because you just want nice little drips there. And if you take your time, you can get it just right. And then once you have that done, you want to rather quickly take your rose petals and put them right on, because if you let that glaze sit up, then they won't stick to it. And I'm just going to take my rose petals and I'm going to put them all around the outside here. And then you're going to want to do the same thing with your crushed pistachios. Now, obviously, these are garnishes and they are optional. But when you see the top of this cake, you're going to know that you definitely want them on there. They're maybe optional isn't a great word. They really make the cake. So there we go. I want to just get you guys up here so you can see this. Look at that. So I guess we didn't really talk about the rose petals and the pistachios. They are just dried rose petals that are food grade from an herb shop. And I just took some pistachios and crushed them up in a sandwich baggie with the end of a butter knife, quite honestly. A hammer works better, but I didn't have one. And you have a gorgeous, gorgeous Valentine's dessert. It is only my personal opinion, but I believe that this is one of the best Valentine's Day desserts that you can make. Some of you might be wondering what it's like to eat something that has rose flavoring in it. You can make something a little more powerful with rose flavoring. This has a lot of lemon and the cardamom, and you don't taste it that much. It's really more about the energy. So if you're a person who believes in energy, then you know that the power of the rose plant is love and peace and harmony, many things good. And this has the energy of the rose plant. It doesn't have a ton of the flavor. I do love the flavor, so I would bake other things with a more powerful rose flavor, but this is very subtle, so don't be afraid to try it. I've already cut it and moved it around and done all kinds of things with it, because as you know, I always want to get pictures. Over on the blog, there's a couple blurbs about the legends behind this. There's 2 of them. They're not long. They're just a couple little blurbs. The legends that are out there aren't really involved. And there's a bunch of tips and tricks for making it, and it might be kind of important that you read those, but if you want to check out the blog post, go on over there. I'll put the link down below. For now, let's have a bite of this amazing cake. I want to get some extra icing on it. Here we go. Cannot wait. The tartness of the lemon, and the floral notes of the rose, the rich spice of the cardamom, the nuttiness of the almonds, and the crunch of the pistachios on top. Outstanding dessert, you guys. I hope you are going to make one. Make one this Valentine's Day for someone who's special to you. And as always, I'm so glad that you're here with me today. I love having you here. And you and I are going to get together again, and we are going to do it really soon.